Some people reach a point where they know a situation isn't good for them anymore, yet nothing inside them moves. They're not confused. They're not unaware. They can explain exactly what's wrong, why it's happening, and how it will probably end. Still, they stay. Not because they don't see the exit, but because something inside them hesitates to take it. This pattern shows up most often in intelligent people. Not just academically intelligent, but perceptive, emotionally aware, and capable of holding complexity. They see nuance where others see simplicity. They understand motives, context, and history. And slowly, this becomes the trap. Because intelligence doesn't just clarify reality, it gives you endless ways to tolerate it. For smart people, thinking became safety early on. Analysis helped them manage uncertainty. Understanding reduced chaos. So when a situation starts to hurt, the instinct isn't to leave. It's to figure it out, to gather more information, to assume that if they can understand the problem deeply enough, the discomfort will resolve on its own. Pain quietly turns into a mental project. Instead of asking whether something is right for them, they start asking why it's happening. They explain behavior. They empathize with flaws. They account for circumstances. The situation stops being something to exit and starts being something to interpret. Interpretation feels productive, even when nothing actually changes. There's also an identity cost. Intelligent people often see themselves as reasonable, stable, and capable. Someone who doesn't act emotionally. Someone who can handle difficult dynamics without falling apart. Walking away feels like failure, as if leaving means they couldn't solve something they believe they should have been able to understand. This creates a responsibility loop. If you can see what's wrong, you feel responsible for managing it. If you can predict outcomes, you feel obligated to prevent them. If you understand people deeply, patience starts to feel like a moral duty. Over time, intelligence becomes the justification for endurance. Another layer is fear, disguised as logic. Smart people think ahead. They imagine future regret more vividly than present damage. Staying feels safer than risking self-blame. Leaving opens uncomfortable questions. What if I misjudged this? What if I gave up too early? What if the problem is me? So they wait for certainty. But certainty rarely arrives in human situations, especially the kind that erode you slowly instead of breaking loudly. While waiting, they override their own internal signals. Discomfort gets explained away. Instinct is replaced with reasoning. The quiet sense that something is wrong gets muted by arguments that sound mature and rational. What develops isn't dramatic suffering, it's subtle depletion. Energy fades, self-respect thins. You become smaller without noticing when it happened. You tell yourself it's fine because nothing is bad enough to justify leaving. But something inside keeps tightening. This is the paradox. Intelligence can show you the exit clearly and still convince you not to take it. Not because you're weak, but because your mind learned to value understanding over self-trust. And until that balance shifts, knowing better won't automatically lead to walking away. What keeps this pattern alive isn't lack of awareness. It's the way intelligence delays permission. Smart people often believe that leaving should feel obvious, clean, and fully justified. They wait for a moment where the decision makes complete sense, where every doubt is resolved, where they can explain it to themselves without discomfort. That moment rarely comes. Instead, they live in a gray zone. Nothing is catastrophic. Nothing is clearly abusive or irredeemable. It's just consistently misaligned. And because the damage is subtle, it's easy to minimize. They tell themselves they're being dramatic, that others have it worse, that patience is maturity. Over time, endurance becomes confused with strength. There's also a deep attachment to potential. Intelligent people don't just see what is, they see what could be. They imagine better versions of situations, relationships, workplaces, even people. Walking away feels like abandoning that imagined future, as if leaving means admitting that potential isn't real, or that their insight wasn't enough to bring it out. This is where intelligence turns inward. Instead of questioning the situation, they question themselves. Maybe I'm not communicating well enough. Maybe I haven't tried hard enough. Maybe I'm expecting too much. The focus shifts from whether something is healthy to whether they're justified in wanting something else. And self-doubt quietly replaces self-respect. Another factor is emotional self-reliance. Many smart people learned early not to depend on external rescue. They became used to handling things internally, so leaving doesn't feel like relief. It feels like disruption. Staying feels familiar, even if it's draining. Familiarity often wins over well-being when you've learned to survive quietly. What's missing here isn't courage or intelligence. It's trust. Trust in one's own internal signals. Trust that discomfort doesn't need to be extreme to be valid. Trust that you don't need a perfect explanation to make a clean decision. Intelligence keeps asking for more data when the body has already decided. Eventually, the cost shows up, not as collapse, but as erosion. You become less present, less expressive, less alive. You stop imagining your life expanding and start managing it instead. This is usually when people say they feel stuck, even though nothing is physically trapping them. Walking away for intelligent people isn't about impulse. It's about recognizing when thinking has reached its limit. When more analysis won't produce more clarity, only more delay. It's about understanding that some decisions are meant to be felt, not solved. Leaving doesn't mean you failed to understand. It means you understood enough. Enough to know that staying requires you to keep explaining away parts of yourself. Enough to see that no amount of insight can compensate for a situation that consistently asks you to shrink. The shift happens when intelligence stops working against you and starts working for you. When it supports action instead of postponing it. When you allow yourself to trust the quiet conclusion you've already reached, even if you can't defend it perfectly. Sometimes the smartest thing you can do isn't to figure it out. It's to notice that you already have, and then let that be enough to walk away.